let's get some facts. 37% of you aren't subscribed to this channel. That's almost 4 out of 10 just freeloading the alpha. So come on, hit subscribe, and I promise to keep leveling up the show with the best guests and the juiciest insight. Go on, do it now.
Hello again. We are back for REKT Vision. The first one we have Raoul back, and it's not an all-time high, it feels like.
I know. What the fuck's going on? Maybe this is a good thing, because every time I come on, it just reverses again afterwards.
I was hoping that we would have some sort of God candle into this show, and I had it marked that I should just be long into it no matter what, because you can time these things very, very well. But we're going to have to speak to you with prices slightly suppressed. I think it's going to be a bit of a pep talk in certain places in the crypto space, but I guess you're kind of used to that at this stage. But yeah, it's great to have you back on. How was your holiday break?
It was good, actually. I was in Texas for Christmas and then over here in Little Cayman for New Year. Too many guests. I had like 10 people. And so it was just eating and drinking, eating and drinking, eating and drinking. So threw them all out because now it's quiet.
Yeah, I guess.
How about you? Where were you?
I was home as well. I was in Europe. I went back to London for a little bit, but yeah, we kind of stayed in Spain and in Portugal. So it was nice, warm-ish. Probably not as warm as Cayman, but it was
Decent.
Good. It was good. But yeah, markets, they were kind of not feeling that great. And then just before the New Year's, we started to rally, and then that rally kind of picked up pace, it felt like. And we went all the way up to kind of like 94, 95K on Bitcoin. And it felt like, okay, maybe we're going to follow everything else higher again. It's been a bit more of a chop, it feels like. And we still seem to be slightly, I would say, underperforming gold and stocks and all this sort of stuff. But we're not doing terribly. Let me put it that way. Like,
which makes a nice change, right? We should be happy.
Exactly. Like, there was a point in time where we were heading down to 80K for the third or fourth try at the back end of last year, and we're starting to feel a little bit shaky. Now it feels as though you've got a little bit more of a footing. How are you feeling kind of short term about the market here, Raoul?
Short term, I think, look, we've got to get through this tariff thing. Is like, it's on, it's off. So we don't really know about that. Markets don't like this kind of stuff. Then we've also got the potential for a shutdown again at the end of the month. And I think we're going to cower in fear a little bit from that. So I don't think it's up only yet. But I do think that by sort of, once we get clarity over that shutdown, I think we also get the Clarity Act through as well. That seems to be being pushed. So towards the end of Jan, I think that's it. Then the liquidity starts flowing in from the changes to the SLR and stuff like that, i.e. the banks can now print more money. And so, yeah, everything looking forwards is pretty positive. But, we had a decent rally. I mean, stuff like SU's up 40% in, a week and a half or so. It probably needs a bit of digestion.
Yeah, it felt like it was mainly altcoin led. Like,
yeah,
Bitcoin actually just is kind of hanging around the same sort of level. It was altcoins that really printed. Mainly, I think they were just kind of from being beaten up towards the back end of last year. I think part of this always gets spoken about is tax loss harvesting in a number of different things, and then you kind of have this bounce on the back of that. But there were some macro things that have been happening. I guess the whole Venezuela move, and then you have seemingly Iran also kind of going through a bit of a...
All of these have a tendency to be positive, right? As they play out. Markets don't really like a lot of shit going on, and people lose their minds over X. But if these things slowly resolve, these are net big positives to the general kind of structural backdrop.
Yeah, I mean, for most of the last 2 years, whenever there was a conflict, actually crypto seemed to take a bit of a nosedive. But this time it wasn't like that at all. When Venezuela was kind of over in a weekend, it felt like that was actually one of the main reasons people were pointing to the rally, just like cheaper energy, more US control, AI trade picking up again on the back of that, which seemed to be bullish. And then even just the moves that we're kind of seeing in the rest of Central America now, and maybe Greenland and Iran, like, it seems like a bit more US hegemony coming out, and markets don't necessarily dislike
it. No, that's right. Because it leads, what seems to be happening at a bigger level is where kind of the US is sort of walking away from the rules-based global order system, which is the United Nations and, the WTO and all of these things, and it's going its own path. So we're seeing this multipolar world. It's only when there's a vacuum and there's a problem. But the US is filling the vacuum with its own kind of power assertion, and that probably keeps markets comfortable because it's a relatively benign power. So you're not leaving these kind of big vacuums, I think.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think the particularly because a lot of the wealth of the world increasingly is in the US, particularly in like the stock market or publicly traded markets, it's in the US. So if you can make that case stronger, like if you can make the US AI trade even stronger, then I feel as though that's going to provide the backdrop. And that was kind of, I think, the main backdrop for what
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, if you step back and say, okay, maybe they're going to be able to secure cheaper and more abundant energy via getting the resolution in Iran, which I think has been on the table for a long time, with the Israelis and the Saudis kind of driving in the background. So I think that's happening. The Venezuela situation at the margin probably helps. So you get cheaper, more abundant energy. Greenland is clearly not only just geopolitical in where it is, but also for its rare earths, which is also part of this whole thing. So it feels like the US is kind of doing what China did a while ago, which was securing all of its needs for this tech revolution. Because again, when you step back, this AI race is the biggest race in all of humanity. It's the single most important thing we've ever done. It's the most powerful technology man will ever invent, and probably our last technology we'll ever invent.
Yeah, I think the AI trade, it's gone in its, I think there was a period last year where I looked at what was happening with OpenAI and I started seeing the maybe contagion if that story didn't get better. It feels as though this year, the vibe coding phenomenon seems to be ripping through at least CT. And
that's the most bizarre thing. It's like people like Frank the Gods is now just talking all day about vibe coding. I'm like, what is happening in this world?
Yeah, it's now if you're not vibe coding, you're missing out on generational wealth. You have people spinning up apps within seconds with Claude. Like if you're not aware, Claude, which is the model from Anthropic, they released their Opus model, which is you can download as a terminal on your computer, and it's an agent. Like I don't know if you've done this, Raoul, but like
I have not yet.
It has like an interface kind of in between coding and your classic LLM interface, although you can make it a bit more LLM focused, and you can ask it to do things. So you can say, look, for example, for my daily newsletter, I now ask it to go through all these various websites and get the biggest stories from them and put them together in a nice sheet for me. People have been going through their credit card data and eliminating costs, but there's various different things. Like if you're doing daily tasks, I think this can be a bit revolutionary. It basically takes control of all your logged in sessions. So like it doesn't need your authentication for getting into like your Gmail or anything you're already logged into. It just opens up what you would normally have with Google Chrome or opens up Mail and does it for you. So it can actually be pretty seamless once it gets going, and it can just work in the background. So I think for someone like you who clearly does a lot of that sort of daily analysis sort of stuff, it can be quite useful. This is the first time I do think that if you think about these LLMs originally, it's like, yeah, they've just become incredible encyclopedias, and maybe even like they tell you how to do things perfectly. This is now just like doing it for you. It is just you can give it it does it for you.
It's really interesting to see the kind of meme coin crowd move towards this, right? Because it's like chasing money. And what happens is we end up creating infinite amounts of whatever it is, because that's what everybody does. Infinite amounts of meme coins. Now, there's going to be infinite amounts of apps. And where this plays out is as agents build apps, and there is no moat around any software in the end. And Elon made a point which was interesting to me. He said that most of the US stock market wealth is in software, and software is going to go to zero. Now, that's not an instantaneous thing. It happens over time. I mean, to get rid of, big systems out of companies and stuff is not straightforward. But the point being is the trend is in place, that all of the value accrued within this stuff goes away, because we're seeing people spinning up a DEX within like a day. And, we're seeing Mert, from Helios, building apps over the weekend and launching them. And that just shows the plethora of stuff that's going to get built.
Yeah, and
How does
And not,
anything get
not as a
traction in that?
developer, but to be clear, look, these are people with no development skills. Like you can basically ask this Claude model, "Hey, I'm not a developer. Speak to me like I'm not a developer. I'm just going to give you guidance," and it just does it. Um, like this is why I'm saying you should test it out because this
Were
is.
you using Claude beforehand, or were you using
I
ChatGPT?
tried this out a year ago, honestly. Like the whole agent thing came out, when I was looking at these sort of models a year to year and a half ago, and I was like, how good are they? And I tried to make it do tasks. And to be honest, you had to be a bit more of a developer. Like
Yeah.
the responses it would give you would be sometimes like Python scripts or like, and you'd just be like, I can't do this, or at least I have to spend a long time learning how to code. Now it's not like that at all.
I mean,
It's literally.
I had a good one with ChatGPT. So I love these log regression channels on log charts, like Bitcoin and stuff like that. And I wanted it on other crypto assets, and I usually get it off Bloomberg where it's set up, but I don't have all the crypto assets. So I said to ChatGPT, is there this function on TradingView? It said no, but I can build it for you. So I said, okay. So it's like just what parameters you want. I gave it, and within a minute, it had written the whole Pine code, and I just copied it, dropped it into TradingView, and it worked. One shot. I'm like, oh, okay, this is quite clever. Because I don't even know what this Pine code says. It's just a bunch of
Yeah,
random
yeah.
shit, but it works.
Yeah, I mean, the extension to that with this would be someone that actually went on and did all that for you. So it would put in the Pine code, probably think of even better charts to show you. Like that's the level that we're at, which is that like I said, it's not the encyclopedia anymore. It's like it just does it. So
I've got to play around with it. It's just always scary at first.
got it.
Because the other thing is, you've got to think what you actually want automated. Because if you're not careful, you just start saying, hey, automate me all the news flow and blah, blah, blah. And you just end up with overwhelming amounts of stuff that you don't actually need.
Yeah, so that is obviously entering a world of abundance. So like once you start having a personal assistant that can do everything for you in the background, like you can start asking it to do some dumb things. But we've had, like, for example, I've seen people do it and I'm sure you have a ton of calls each week with people that you've probably spoken to once or maybe spoken to before. Every day it sends you a summary of the calls you have and what you should prepare, a little bit about the person who's probably done the call with you and about the company. And so, for example, it can integrate into you to just get you more prepared. And this is like smaller stuff,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because unfortunately, I don't know why at Real Vision we've got bloody Microsoft Outlook and it's got no integration with this stuff. And what I really want it to do is like go back in my diary, because as you said, there's so many meetings that we've had that you forget to follow up on or what it was about, that something just smartly resurfaces and said, hey, have you spoken to Joe recently? Because, you were having a conversation about this kind of stuff. I mean, that gets super interesting. That whole on your desktop, everything from your Zoom calls to your phone calls to your emails to your files to everything. Once that becomes your own personal assistant, then it becomes a superpower because it can do everything for you.
Yeah. I think the first model of this was like to do it on the app level. So it would be like, oh, your Gmail has its own AI. The Claude model is slightly different. It just takes over your PC. And if that's your main tool for doing things, it's basically then can manage it across everything. So it's slightly different in that sort of sense. And they generally seem to have one of the stronger coding models, but like to be clear, all the other people are now moving towards this.
This is the worst it's going to be, which is what we've kept saying for the last 2 years. Every time we're shocked, it's like, well, this is the worst it's ever going to be. I mean, it's literally, we know ChatGPT 5.0, I think, is coming out, which is their multimodal model. Then we've got 6 to come out. We've got, Gemini 3.5. What does that end up? I mean, it's stupid. The speed of this stuff, it's stupid. You can't keep up with it.
Well, to be fair, I would actually, I've been thinking kind of more the opposite at the back end of last year, is that I hadn't really seen that much improvement in the LLMs. It was like marginal, and you were like, oh, okay, they've brought out ChatGPT 4.8, and it's slightly better. This is the first step change I've really felt.
A lot of people have said this since ChatGPT 4.0, which shocked everybody. This is the first time people have gone, okay, this is like AGI encoding.
Because you can just get it to do things, and be clear, people are making apps. I mean, it's basic stuff right now. So it's apps which people often have payment gateways to, and people are, just creating businesses out of nothing at the moment, seamlessly. I've seen people who've gone, right, I'm not even going to say anything. Just imagine you are the best startup founder ever. Create one. Just. It's like you don't even. It's just letting the AI go and see what happens. Have been some of the results here.
It's starting to move towards. I've been using this kind of 2030 date for the economic singularity, where it just kind of like if AI becomes fully AGI at that point and it can do things autonomously, then what role do we have in markets? What is a company any longer? Because companies' births, deaths in a digital world can be instant. We've seen it in crypto. We've run that rail for a while, which is you can capture an opportunity in a business. It can last for a month and then go, and it dies and moves on. Well, if you actually have companies, you have to hire the people and build the legal entities. This all goes. So I don't even know what system we're walking into, but it's very different than the one we know today.
Yeah, increasingly, it's almost like you want to take yourself out of the equation because you know the AI is going to be better than you. And like you just said, that becomes like, what purpose are we then in this sort of world? Like, if I'm literally just creating a Claude model and I don't even want to give it any input, just that you are the best startup founder ever to have lived, create a startup. Like, I don't really know what role I am in society.
No, because the next step is it prompts itself to do that, and that's the end of you, right?
Yeah.
So, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about this and writing about it, and I just wrote my annual think piece in GMI. The reality is the one thing it can't do is be human. If you look at things like sports teams, they just keep going up and to the right in value. The reason being is they're human-centered things. I've talked about this before. It's like the computers have beaten humans at chess for the last 35 years. We've never beaten them. Yet, chess is the largest it's ever been as an industry. So the signal within this, which is human-to-human interaction, has value. It creates outcomes. It is monetizable. Human attention is still valuable. But we don't need to do all the other stuff.
Yeah, look, I kind of agree with that. I mean, even the businesses that I run, I've been thinking about this and being like, the real thing that I still see value in is in the human-to-human interaction bit. Like, you can't replace customer service or a personal relationship, and people will be driven to that more. It's a weird thing, but like, we've been hiring just like people who are very personable, good. The sort of person you want to have a conversation with is actually often going to be the sort of people that you want to have at your kind of business. Like, if you can, the more personable and the better human you are. Like, if you're the smartest guy anymore, like if you're like a 100x dev, like that skill weirdly is becoming not less value. 100x devs obviously are very rare, but if you are just a smart person, that is being increasingly replaced.
Yeah, and I see a lot of friends of mine whose kids are at university, and they're like, "What do I do?" I'm like, the best thing to do is actually go traveling for a year.
Right.
Go and meet people of different cultures in different places and different complexities. You'll come back able to communicate and understand people better, and that is a key skill in the world we're going into, because it's not fucking development. It's not your intelligence, because intelligence is being replaced. So therefore, it's your humanness.
Yeah, that's it.
And whatever that means.
Possible. I mean, obviously, base intelligence is part of that as well. Like, you still want to have a smart conversation with a human, but being a good communicator, I would say, is probably one of the top skills to actually have.
Because also the looks model that has been proliferating since Instagram basically is going to die a death because of AI. Because the OnlyFans, porn sites, Instagram will all be AI. And so that's not an edge so much anymore. Yes, it might be in human life, but humans don't even meet in bars anymore. They meet on apps. So it's kind of a weird world. But yeah, I think you're right, that human thing. And I had this realization a few years ago, which is why we've been rebuilding the whole Real Vision experience around community. It's the single most important thing. It's all we have. And yes, our communities will have AI within them, But the physical thing. So I'm going to give the plug to the crypto gathering because it's a perfect spot. It's like we get the Real Vision community together down in Miami. I think it's on the 22nd to 25th of Jan, and you get a couple of hundred people, 200 or 300 people down there. And you get to talk to each other and meet each other and share a drink and share some food. And that is the realness of the experience. And, because if not, we just exist too much online. So just a plug for everybody who's not signed up, we've got the special social pass tickets, which I think they're $300, and you can buy one, get one free. Bring a mate for that. That's the social pass. So it doesn't get you into all of the events. You can add on to those if you want to, or just come for the party and the fun and meeting people, because meeting people is the most important thing. And it's better to do it in the sun than a fucking miserable wet end of January everywhere else in the world. So realvision.com/crypto gathering. But aside that plug,
I'll be there.
Good. But it's the human side of stuff, right? To get together, I see you, give you a hug, I haven't seen you in a while, have a chat, have a beer. That creates true connections and understandings and stuff like that. It's valuable.
Yeah, like I said, it's the only bit of the business that I can't see being replaced with AI. Like the need for human. You need fewer top level people for the intelligence bits, but the real thing is like where people still desire personal touch or relationships, then that will not be replaced.
And the other thing that won't be replaced is nature. Right, I'm here on Little Cayman right now. It's just complete nature, and you realize how valuable that is. Humans have a connection with nature. Nature's this kind of integrated ecosystem. So I think nature becomes a premium in this world because we spend so long like this. We, over a Zoom call or over your email or on X or whatever you're doing, and in the end, you actually want to get back to some sort of reality. So I think it's a barbell strategy. Is you lean into everything with the AI you possibly can to replace yourself, and then be as human as you can.
Yeah, on that same sort of vein, like I'm also, and I've said this on a couple of shows before, but increasingly it's my view is that intricately made human items that are probably going to die off in the next 100 years. Like how many people are going to be still making watches by hand? How many people are still going to be doing certain human skills by hand in a world of AI as it scales to humanoid robots and various other forms of manufacturing as well as service, like
that artisan stuff,
right? Like this is the other point about art. Like
this is why I've been buying all the NFTs. This is the exact trade.
Yeah,
I know where it's going.
Art and collectibles, physical collectibles, particularly human element sort of stuff, I think is going to be worth a lot. Like because people will desire them, and like it. I'm not saying you won't have the skills to do these sort of things in like the AI could probably teach you, but it's just there's going to be fewer people doing it at the same sort of scale. And I think there's going to be a lot of
people going to have training doing it. So stuff like that. But so, right. It's obvious that vintage cars keep going and, homes obviously keep going, the kind of fancy stuff that gets built, but also digital art, I think is so obvious because we've got this massive cohort of young people who've grown up digitally native, and here's the art of the culture of the internet when this all happened. So that's been my big thesis. I mean, I've just done nothing but keep buying art all the time.
Art as a field, I just think is something, and like these more collectibles, physical collectibles, I think it's actually going to be big too. Bring it back to crypto though slightly. Like this has got me more bullish again on the AI trade. I felt like it was maybe a bit of a mini top with OpenAI, and that may take down a few of the medium-sized players. Now I feel like this is, if AI agents are going to have their moment this year, and I don't know if they will, but it does feel like everyone will now launch their Claude model. It looks like Anthropic's about to raise at $350 billion just on the back of this. Actually, side note, does seem like the FTX stake. FTX,
I know
8% of this. Diluted down from something like 15% or 20%. Like he would have had $30 billion in Anthropic there, and something like close to 100 if they hadn't diluted him down with all the other stakes. So crazy. That was sold during the bankruptcy, but hey ho, Anthropic's and it does feel as though we'll definitely see one of these sort of models from Google and from, I'm sure, all the other major players
Yeah.
when it comes to the models
Yeah, because
now.
DeepMind said, was it DeepMind or DeepSeek? I can't remember. I think it was DeepSeek was saying
Deep-sea.
their new models out in February, something
Right.
like that. XAI have been talking about their new thing coming out as well. So we're just going to see what you're now seeing as the step change will now become the norm as everybody
Right.
catches up, and then there'll be another step change again. I don't know where we are by the end of the year. I mean, it's started to become almost impossible to predict where we are, but it's just more
Yeah.
ability, faster, easier.
There was always this question about like how much will you be willing to give up seed power to the AI? And like, no, we'll never give it. We'll put checks and balances in it. Now we're just like, just take over my PC. You do whatever. Like you can see all of my private information. Just go for it. It's kind of funny just to see that, yeah, when it actually comes down to the individual choice about this, and it's like there's a money making element to it. It's just like, yeah, just go.
It's like it always makes me laugh the people who fight over um, privacy from government. I'm like, you've given every single thing that you do to Google, every porn site you've ever visited, everything you've ever said, everything. They know literally where you are because you move around with your phone. And if you put your phone down, the Nest device tells you what time you're going to sleep, and you're worried about the government knowing it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
We
Like,
lost this a long time ago. Just so we could post pictures of cats on the internet, we gave up all of our privacy.
yeah, if there's an element of social or money behind it, yeah, people will be willing to give up quite a lot on a personal basis. They'll complain about it on a public basis, but if it's like, yeah, I'll get the AI just make money for me. Yeah, yeah, you can do
And
whatever.
so that's where I think a lot of this is going is there was a brilliant article by Mickey Malka from Ribbit Capital about tokenization of data. So not tokens in the crypto sense, but creating machine readable packets of all data because the AI needs to be fed. It's a beast. It needs as much data as possible. And we're going to financialize that because with crypto rails, we're going to have giant marketplaces for data in real time where agents just go and pull data, that kind of stuff. And we're going to end up selling our personal data. Um, and, all of the privacy thing goes out the window again because money's being waved in front of us.
Yeah, of course.
And these models need to be fed. I mean, they need to be fed. So we need to give them all of the data. That's where I think a lot of the money we generate, which was kind of the Web3 ethos in the beginning, right? Which was the read, write, own.
Mm.
That own element, I think, will come, in the next 5 years, it'll become very apparent that owning our data was one of the things that gave us income.
Yeah, I think that's true too. Like it's very clear that the data here is very valuable. I can't imagine how much data Anthropic's been getting from everyone just giving up their PCs. But what just bring it back to crypto slightly, like I actually haven't seen that many people add this Claude model to crypto yet, but it is coming. I don't know which blockchain or which apps are. If I am in crypto, that's what I would be doing right now. Basically making it as easy as possible for Claude to come in and either build trading models on my platform or integrate into TradingView or do that. And I haven't yet seen it on a blockchain level or in an app level, but it is coming. And that will be the next step change again. I even think in crypto.
Yeah, and I think also there's the X402 payments system, and I think Siri got a version A402. There's some really interesting things comes out of those, plus agents. So I think there's a lot of that integrations that we'll start to see happening. I try not to overcomplicate it. And I've been thinking, I was speaking to Julian about this over the weekend, writing GMI. It's like Barry Silbert's going to be right. Tower's going to go up. Bit tensor. It's really annoying because I've known Barry forever and he always gets these things right. He got the Zcash one as well. And I just think BitTensor, if I look at the weekly chart, it's like it's a killer chart. I don't own any. In fact, let me show you the chart. Let me see if I can find it.
I've been in and out of Tau several times. They had their halving in
That's
December.
right. But if I look
it went down, but it always has this nice bottom to it around this sort of level.
I mean, it's just
So Tau is like a rewards mechanism for these AI. So like if you're talking about what we just spoke about with the how to train these models better, that is essentially what they're trying to do here.
Yeah, I mean that's a very clean kind of big flag pattern, and if it's going to happen, there's a big price move to come. So, I've been following this one with interest and then trying to keep open to the AI trade. I think a lot of them is going to be just who is able to process at the speed that agents require. And that feels like that's a Solana Sui world more than an ETH world, but maybe the layer twos can. I don't know, but I think that game is going to be one of the key narratives, as you said.
Yeah, look, I was a big believer just over a year ago that AI agents would. This was going to be last year was going to be the year of AI agents. I would be really surprised if this year is not now, at least in terms of crypto. And then because you can imagine now, like we just said, Coinbase has a complete AI agent payment framework. Like they could easily integrate this even into Coinbase and be like, look, have your Claude agent do this, have your Google agent do this, and trade it on a DEX or a SEX. And I don't, and then it kind of comes down to like what you just said, which chains are they going to use? I imagine part of it will use Base, part of it will use Solana, part of it will use Sui. I have to say, I've been more bullish on the apps than I have been on the L1s, just because I've just seen the price action just has not been aggressive enough, let's say, even with the whole DAT trade. And I kind of feel like the valuation metric just isn't quite being picked up by TradFi. Whereas on the app layer, like if for example, Hyperliquid was to do that, and you could imagine the massive increases in revenue you could see from this. You could integrate it into Pump Fund, right? Like just have the AI agent make a meme for you all day. And
but
which
it's
one?
It's not going to be if. It's going to be obviously it's going to happen at scale.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a simple of when. It's just what I get to again is what the fucking role do we have in markets when it's AI agents trading versus AI agents? It's like, don't forget, it's been that world in high frequency trading for decade and a half, 2 decades now, where humans have no edge. You know it from the investment bank, from the sales and trading floor.
Yeah.
The traders had to move out time horizons because everybody else got replaced by the machines. And the banks couldn't compete with Jump and all of those guys and Virtue and all of those because they were just too powerful and too fast. So I just don't know whether we're going to have an opportunity in markets. And I think it's kind of naive to think that you or I could spin up our agent and it's going to be this master thing in markets when agents are going to be spinning up their own agents to create money for themselves to do economic tasks. I'm like, I don't know where this is going, but what you're excited about today is the death of you tomorrow. It's not, I mean, I'm not negative, but I'm a realist. So, a quick break in your regular programming. If you're serious about your future, grab my free report called Prepare for 2030. I think you've got 5 years to make as much money as possible, and this guide will help you navigate what's coming. The link is in the description. Download it now.
I know what you mean. I was a trader, obviously.
Yeah.
Not post your time, but like in a time where electronic trading was coming in and replacing a lot of people. What the theme was on those trading floors was that if you moved more and more into liquid markets, that the AI or the machines would be less likely to replace you. And that kind of ties back into what I was saying before. I actually think like illiquid markets, collectibles, these sort of things might have a bit more of a human element to them. They may not, but I can imagine that the trading of those is going to be more difficult than some of the easy to chart, easy to do technical analysis on majors, let's say, than like
it makes sense. It's like the sneaker market.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes sense because they're physical goods. You want to touch them, own them, etc. So they don't just trade on screens because there's an element of ownership thing, right? It's a display and ownership thing. So that makes sense. And there's a bunch of kids. I mean, a friend of mine's son earned his way through college just trading sneakers.
Yeah, we had a bit more of a collectibles show actually. I think it was like 3 months ago. We had on Spencer, who has moved into this before, and that bit of the market continues to kind of go crazy.
The other no-brainer in all of this is, and I've noticed this trend is every generation has a set of cars that they kind of worshipped. So in my day, it was the Lamborghini Countach, and I had the picture on a wall with a sort of semi-naked girl on it, and I wanted that car. And those cars, once people get in their 40s and 50s, end up buying all of this stuff to look back on their nostalgic youth. I remember looking at the Lamborghini when I was still living in Spain, so maybe 15 years ago, and they were like 30 grand. And then the next printed 350 grand. And I'm like, and I didn't do it. But we're going to see the end of petrol cars, and particularly a lot of this kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
that's another thing you can do is just go and find what are the iconic cars for people of today that still exist. And they don't have to be sports cars. They just need to be iconic. And you just stick them away. Like the Land Rover Defenders. Because they stopped
Yeah.
making the old ones. Those now they're now, I mean, I redid mine here because it had rusted apart because this little salty island kills everything. And just people said, you're not allowed to trash it. I mean, it was completely done. And so I had it rebuilt. And I had it rebuilt. It cost me, I don't know, like 100 grand to rebuild. But if I send it to the US, they're trading at 150 grand, redone Land Rovers.
Yeah, I guess this comes back into the theme that we've kind of already seen with crypto. It's like you were drawn into crypto because you felt like it had a bit more of an edge, and even with like the internet culture thing, like I came in because I felt like, oh yeah, no, this was around the time of meme stocks. I feel like I have an edge. This is the stuff again that the AI will not have an edge in. Like they're not going to be have the edge in like that cultural element. I don't think, at least not like they would have an edge in trading
Yeah, but
Bitcoin.
they would choose the portfolio for you. If you were
They would
to
choose.
ask ChatGPT, hey, here's my thesis on classic cars, what's going to be a classic of the future
Right.
from the kids today? It'll scrape the internet, figure it all out, and give you a list of here's the 5 cars to buy under 10 grand.
So we're still going to be useless, not useless, but like there's still going to be a use for the AI. But I still think the only human edge is going to be in those little bits, and I think people will be drawn to trading those even more. Like
Even just at the base level, ownership of things,
mm,
right? That it comes down to that. It's like, can you have that car in your garage? Why? That status signaling to yourself. It's nostalgia. It's a mimetic carriage of all the things that you've learned en route. That's what I think it ends up coming down to. It's like the weird things humans hold on to dearly that nobody else does. They're valuable, and
but it's
they
the ownership
can't be
of human
traded.
things. That's what my
Correct.
point is. I also think that like a car is going to be increasingly easy to create, right? Like think about a world where there's just humanoid robots making them out in China, and they already have to be tariffed like 200% before they come to Europe and the US right now. Like that's just because we haven't got good enough robots essentially, or good enough tech. Like all of this sort of tech has become much cheaper. So it's the human built things that people see real value in, like that human connection thing that we just spoke about. I think those things are going to be worth a lot in the
And you
future.
saw that you've seen this in Japan. So Japan, with the aging population, young people didn't want to live the salaryman lifestyle and all of that, and they saw what it did to their parents. And so Japan has got like more artisan shops than anywhere else. There's some crazy people who use a specific denim from a specific cotton to make specific jeans handmade that cost fortunes, and they love it because it's very artisan, it's human.
Hmm.
Doesn't make sense because you can get it made in a factory in China for nothing, but that artisan element has something to do with it. It's a human to
100%.
human thing.
That's the thing that you would go in and buy, right? If you knew it was made by a 3D printer, but it was incredibly made, like it's the idea with these new diamonds as well, like these 3D. Yeah, it's kind of cool, but like you also think the actual real ones is like it's going to be worth more. Like they feel like they have more value to them because they're actually real. And I think if you can keep that edge, I think it's going to be important. I want like obviously you've just spent the last few weeks doing this whole outlook for the year. We've obviously touched on a few things here. Is there anything else like that you really feel is big themes for this year?
Yeah, so if I break it down, there's the mega theme, this whole exponential age, economic singularity that we're hurtling into, the AI trade. What is this all about? So I spent a lot of time talking about that. What's the future of humans? How we do that. Julian spent a lot of time looking at the macro outlook, and the simple macro outlook is business cycle go up, commodities go up, that kind of stuff. The crypto world, this is actually a good chart. Let me show you this because this sums up all of last year. So this chart is this is the everything code thing with the GMI daily liquidity composite and NASDAQ. It kind of worked absolutely perfectly. So the everything code has been working perfectly. And then you look at the same chart in crypto. It did that. It was the only thing that decoupled. And it was based really on just what happened in 1010, that government shut down, liquidity, the furthest, farthest out in the longest term assets, does this. I think the alligator's jaws shut. You've got these beautiful charts. I mean, that's like everything excluding Bitcoin and stables. I mean, these charts are nice. Liquidity just keeps going higher, and we've still got to refinance all of these debts. So we wrote a lot about that just for crypto looks good. Technology continues to look good because liquidity is still coming into the system. They've got all the debt to refinance. We've got the fiscal stimulus coming forwards. We've got, all of the right things happening. So I just think this year is a good year. And then we've got, the structural change to what's happening with technology. So that's that. And then people who are in the more traditional world, it's like the commodity world. It's where the Aussie dollar goes up and the Canadian dollar goes up, and that typical cyclical trade that ends up with over time inflation crawling higher again, which not yet, but over time.
What's your view on the metal trade in general? Because it's taken some of the, I wouldn't say the shine off from the crypto trade, but it feels as though there have been people coming back into it pretty.
I'm going to show you a killer chart. Just need to find it. Sorry, this publication that we write every year. This one was 39,000 words.
Oh wow!
And 130 pages. Where is the bloody gold chart? So we overlaid financial conditions, gold, and also the interest payments, and it's super interesting because it's basically gold is following current financial conditions. So I'm just whizzing through trying to look for the chart. Gold follows current financial conditions and it leads liquidity. So yeah, I'm going to show you these two charts. These are really cool charts. Again, the moment we show any of this stuff, it gets copied by everybody. But so this is our total liquidity in gold. So gold leads it by about 12 months. It basically lives in financial conditions world. But more importantly, here's that interest payments chart. And what's happening is gold is ahead because this is where we are in financial conditions, but we need to ease financial conditions all the way to pay for this stuff. And then liquidity, you can't see it very clearly here, is in blue, just follows the whole thing. And Bitcoin follows liquidity, although, we had that slight change. So the metals trade, I don't think it's done yet because of this. We're not there yet. So it feels like the metals trade can go till the end of the year, which means financial conditions, the whole thing just goes forward. So I still think it's longer than people imagine, but we will get some sort of rate of change and understanding later. We need to see where the ISM is as well. Has the ISM ripped high? And is it, if it's near 60, you want to be a little more cautious because Bitcoin sniffs at that peak in the ISM very quickly, along with the peak in financial conditions rate of change. But I don't think it's there yet.
And any view between them? Are you like a silver guy, gold guy in any of these, or just
no? I just think crypto pays catch up because the multiplier effect. Look, I showed you the chart. It was a dislocation in one asset only, and it's to do with what happened in October.
So what do you think there?
Here's my thesis.
Yeah,
is the market's broke. Fine, we've seen that before, flash crashes and stuff, but the market makers couldn't access the APIs. So who bought the stuff that was being liquidated? And my guess is the exchanges had to step in. Binance, OKX, and whoever had all of that forced deleveraging. And they had to step in because there was no market at all. And everything was automatically being liquidated. Can you imagine that happening? You're sitting in front of your screen, the market makers are shut out from making prices, yet everybody's being liquidated in a cascade. What do you do? Well, if you're Binance or whoever, you're going to have to put your balance sheet on the line.
Yeah.
And my guess is that's what happened. So they bought a whole bunch of stuff, and then they've been somebody's been acting like a program trading desk, unwinding a big trade. We've kind of seen it every day. They sell something, they sell a bunch, and that's what it looked like to me. So somebody took on an absurd amount of risk because they had to, and they've been having to work out of it in an illiquid market over time.
I mean, what I would say is that the volatility has really come out of crypto. So it does feel as though it may be that sort of narrow band of dip buyers are getting immediately smack back down, but the market's not being let to go down too much lower. That's kind of what the market looks like
That's
right
right.
now.
That's right. It's not bearish. It's just that there's still the supply. Now, if you think of where the supply really comes from, it's the alts, because that was the stuff that ended up going down 80% on that price wick. So you got to work out of a big alts position that's a liquid that everybody cascade sold into. Just takes time to digest. So I think those alligator jaws close. I think that is the feature for the year. And that's why I think, we also in the global macro investor, we looked at the undervaluation of Bitcoin versus where it should be. It should be somewhere around 140 to 160,000 had that not have happened, if it had just followed the Nasdaq chart and the everything code chart. So we've got this discount that's happened, and then we back checked it against like 6 other different variables to see, does that discount stand true? And it does. So it's like, okay, so we've got this discount that was created by a temporary factor, not a permanent factor. You just need to give, once liquidity comes back fully into the market, I think it closes. So I'm not involved in the metals trade at all.
Yeah, the worry I have about it is it's just in a world where, as you just said, they're talking about 150 bips of Fed cuts. They're talking about, liquidity coming back to the system. If it doesn't pick back up and AI goes and gold goes and metals go and all these other assets go, it becomes a trade which I think it's not that the underperformance can kind of be extended just because people are, I can already see it.
But I just think you've got a recency bias there. It's like we didn't have nice things and everybody else did. So it's the recency bias is, well, why haven't we stuck like this forever? It's like, if you were to come in from Mars and say, look at all the evidence, is it likely that blockchain technology, which has this most powerful network effects of any investment asset class in history, suddenly just dies a death while every single bank is about to build on it, the government's about to pass the Clarity Act, we've got financial No, it makes no fucking sense. 0 sense. That's what I want to get to. Sorry?
It's definitely not dying. Like, the use case of crypto is going parabolic.
Well, we spent the whole time talking about agents and payments and all of this stuff. It's going parabolic. So therefore, you just have to say it's got to be temporary until you end up with liquidity being drawn from the system, because it's the end of the cycle. Then you can say, yeah, sure, okay, that might change. So I just look at all the evidence and say it's just a temporary phenomena.
Well, I have quite publicly on this show actually still reduced my crypto exposure in this period. I did rotate slightly back into some of these sort of things. I thought we would keep above 80 before the end of last year, and we did. And now we've had a little bit of a nice rally. I do think there is a very good chance now that we will rally back up to 100K over the next month. I think if you look at it, just feels like there's room for it to bounce, even if you think it's a reversal of the trend and not. So I do think there's a good chance now that it does that. So, and that is a decent move. It will probably be a very big move in alts if Bitcoin moves 10% here. As we just saw, like when Bitcoin went up 5%. So we went up like,
but we've also forgotten
40,
about.
They went up 70.
We've also forgotten about what volatility means in crypto. It means upside more than downside. So when we talk about 10% move in Bitcoin, I mean, when I go back and look at the monthly percentage change, it's not uncommon to have a 40%, 50% month in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Two of them back to back. And yet we've kind of forgotten, because we've been in this bloody low vol environment the whole of last year. But when it happens, I mean, we've seen, alts do 5x in a month when Bitcoin does 40%.
I agree. It's been a while, probably not since the Trump election has it felt like, oh God, crypto's got upside volatility here aggressively. And then it went on for about, 3 or 4 months then?
Yeah. Then corrected. Then we had a shoot into the end of the year.
Yeah. Then we had a couple of months of it in last year. I agree. Like if you miss the up weeks in crypto, you kind of just miss the whole year, because when it goes up, it can go up completely violently, and you're playing catch up with certain trades, which is kind of the worst thing about it, because you often then start investing at the highs and some altcoins.
Well, I just don't do anything. I don't trade out of it. I just don't do anything. I just sit with it and say, it'll be the gift that keeps on giving over time. So I just
Mm.
sit with it. And then I don't drive myself insane. Like, oh my God, I've missed gold. What do I do? What's the next one? Shall I go to silver? It's like, I just don't do any of it. I just sit
And
and
are you still
buy art.
mainly mainly Bitcoin and Sui?
Mainly Sui, and I have a bit of majors,
Yeah,
and a lot of ETH because of NFTs, because that's been my biggest bet. Really, is
yeah.
I bought a shit ton of digital art, and that's all been on ETH. Um, and I think the ETH case is very strong going forwards over time. In the same time horizon, I'm looking at digital art, which is next 10 years, and I think digital art will become ultra valuable artifacts. If we're going from $3 trillion to $100 trillion in value in crypto, there's $97 trillion of wealth. Upstream of all wealth is always art. And so, that's my thesis. And the thesis that we talked about in a AI driven age, these digital artifacts become extremely valuable to us humans because they're human things.
Yeah, I can see that. I actually can see that trade as almost being a hedge against everything as well. Like it feels like even a slightly different trade to the rest of crypto, but it's a very interesting one.
Yeah, and it's not a quick get rich quick. It's no flipping. It's not the same NFT markets of old. This is like you buy as much quality stuff. It's like the classic car trade. You buy as much quality stuff as you possibly can and stick it away, and then just wait. And that's how everybody got rich in the art markets in the 90s and stuff. All the hedge fund managers, the Stevie Cohens, the people like that, is they did that one trade. And I don't know how much money Steve's made out of art versus trading, but it's not dissimilar.
Yeah, he's got a big old fund.
He's got a big old fund, but he's got a lot of art.
Yeah. No, but that's the case for so many hedge fund managers, right? Like
Yeah.
there's like five or six with like gigantic art collections. I remember back in the heyday of NFTs, we started to see a few of them come in.
Yeah.
We've seen a few
Yeah.
come back. It feels like it's still a bit of a billionaire's game, digital art at the moment. Like, so it feels like some big collectors are coming in new to the market that
Well, it's a
like,
billionaire's game, and then plus people like, you and Ovi, you built a good collection of stuff. People have got from the last cycle stuff at good prices, and you still see it. I mean, I just bought an X copy one of one last week from somebody
yeah, I saw that.
who bought it early. Yeah. It's like I didn't want to dip into my liquid crypto because I've kind of locked it away, so I can't do anything with it. And it's like it's 50% discount for where it should be. I didn't have an X copy one of one. I thought, and it was called Never Gonna Make It. And I was like, this is the don't fuck this up thesis, because there's the bloke trying to blow himself up with a bomb. I'm like, I need to buy it.
And then I'm sure part of your thing was about AI this over the next year as well. Like, is there any? I mean, we've seen a massive surge in the memory space. SanDisk, this stock is up, I think 40% already this year. But are there any ones that stand out for you there as well as individual trades, or do you think it's still just better to be in crypto as a byproduct?
If we go through this cycle, in the end, what will have done best? It'll have been crypto, just by the very nature of its convexity and its reflexivity. So I'm just more patient with that trade. The one stock that we've done that's gone really well for us, in fact, all of our stocks, we had a great year in tech stocks, but Rocket Labs, that was
Right.
that was fantastic because it's an actual space company that's actually sending rockets into space, and it's tradable. So you see that kind of stuff.
You gonna get involved in the SpaceX IPO? Have you done? You don't do that much VC stuff, do you? But that one's going to come this year.
I know. Yeah, I don't do VC stuff because I'm just too macro, and you end up choosing one or two bets, and then that's not how you do VC unless you're really lucky. And again, when I look back and what's had better returns, crypto's had better returns over time. It's an easier trade for me. And I know everything else sounds more intellectually interesting than just owning some crypto and doing nothing, but generally it pays off.
Yeah, look, I think this is going to be I hope this correlation picks back up. I agree that it does make sense that the exchanges probably got left with a lot. Like the way it's been trading in these sort of narrow ranges, and volatility's been taken out of the market, and altcoins are where the majority of that volatility still is. still feels like that is that could be exchanges left with a lot of
It would
this.
make sense, right? Because it wasn't any of the market makers in the end. Everyone's like, oh, it's Wintermute or whatever. Insert your most hated market maker.
Yeah.
It wasn't. My guess is the exchanges had to step in and stop everything going to zero.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine if you're on a trading desk and that is happening?
Happened in '08, right? Like I know some trading desks back then, like they had to step in, and some of them made an absolute killing by some of this sort of stuff when everyone
That's
was
right,
free.
because there was no prices to be had, but in this case, the market makers couldn't access the APIs, so you keep out the entire liquidity, so you have to backstop. So that makes the most sense to me. Nothing nefarious, and it's like a big program trade. They end up buying this stuff. It's not because they wanted to; it's because they had to, and then they've got to get out of it because they've got responsibilities. So you need to get rid of this stuff. So it kind of makes sense.
I'm also bullish. I do think we've got to run at least to 100, and then hopefully we'll have you back on when that happens, and then we can talk about going back towards all-time highs.
That's right.
I will see you in Miami though before then. And
I mean, Miami's it's fun actually. Last time was a lot of fun. So look, again, just to remind you, we've got the special social pass if you don't want to pay for all the other cool events where there's kind of everything from dinners to speakers to like one-on-ones, all sorts of stuff going on. But if you want to come for the social, come down to Miami, get some sun, hang out with us lot. We get a big party. It's $300. You can bring a friend along for that. realvision.com/crypto gathering. It's the 22nd, 25th. I would not be stuck in the Northern Hemisphere winter. That's all I'm saying. This is why I have a suntan and nobody else does.
Yes, we noticed that. Okay, well, we'll see you again all next week. I think we're going to have Sajito on actually next week. Is he going to be there for Miami? Maybe he will be.
No, the problem is the entire NFT space is going to Mickey Malka's Node event for the punks.
Oh, okay.
It's so annoying because everybody's there. And
so Sajito's going to be on REKT Vision next week, but if not, I'll see you guys all in Miami too. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and Raoul, always a pleasure to have you.
Perfect. All right, my friend. Good to see everyone. Take care out there. So you obviously like this video enough that you've got to the end. That's quite a big task. But listen, do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe button, and also check out what video's next, because I think you'll love it. But if you want even more, and when I'm talking more, I'm talking about member-generated ideas, incredible alpha, research, everything there to help you in your journey, just head to realvision.com/join for the best financial intelligence out there and the pure alpha that's within the platform.